Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Daria, for this amazing event, and thanks to Nicholas and the Earlier School for hosting this important event today. I'm thrilled to be here in person. Just reassure me, we're not in the metaverse, right? It's an in-person meeting. Well, we'll probably never find out. But it's great. No, it's great to be in person. It's a very important, critical, and interesting time for transatlantic relations, for scientists across the Atlantic. The global context is very complex, and as you will see in the words I will address you now, the scientists and the researchers have an important role to play. And I think this topic of science diplomacy is really welcome. You should all be aware of what science diplomacy is. I'm a science diplomat myself, and I will try to navigate you in this complex world in the next minutes. But I think this is something that you really have to pay attention to as a scientist in your career. So the world of science and the conduct of science used to be quite simple. We would equate the increase of knowledge to the increase in improving of our livelihoods. That's what we used to call progress, and that's what was valid until very recently. This is much more complex today. Scientists are asked more and more to actually solve problems we have created ourselves. The climate crisis, with clean tech, we're asked to solve the emission problem we have created. Pandemics, we are asked to solve problems that we've created through deforestation, food security, overuse of pesticides, and you name it. So there is a lot of issues that you as scientists are being asked to solve. It's much more complex than it used to be in the past, where you would just think, oh, let's increase knowledge, we're going to improve the world and improve the livelihood of people. And it's not just that. Science and technology are also at the core now of global tensions. If you see how the research on chips is performed and is creating international turmoil, the use of AI, the use of face recognition, the threat to our democracy through technology is also something that is real and that you have to take into account at a time where you engage in international cooperation with other countries, and at the time where you decide which direction your research will take. You have to think ahead and not just increase knowledge like we used to do in the past. You also have a societal role to play. We've seen with the COVID crisis, the anti-vax movement was high and well followed online. This is something as scientists who are not equipped to fight against, and your role in society is even more important to understand how a scientific community works. Because I've had so many friends, non-scientists, sending me videos of one person who was a PhD saying that vaccines don't work and so on. And I had a hard time always to explain, but that's not how the scientific community works. You can't say whatever you want as a scientist, but you have to come with a proof, and this has to go under the scrutiny of the whole community. It's not just because you're a scientist that you hold the truth. And this is something you also have to engage more into society to make sure that your friends, your family understand that very well. So your life is very complex. It was already complex to do research, but it's even more complex because you have to think about many other aspects now, and that's why science diplomacy is very important. But fortunately, the EU is there. The European Union is there to guide you and to help you. We've done so, we've taken the leadership in many of these aspects I've just mentioned. So we have published a global approach to research innovation last year, which helps you understand how to navigate the international world of cooperation in research innovation and how to ensure openness, because science has no border. We have to remain as open as possible, but also being cautious when you engage in international cooperation, making sure that you know where you step in your partnership. The EU is leading in other areas like the Green Deal, the biodiversity strategy, the food to fork strategy, and the digital agenda. All these regulatory aspects are meant to solve part of the problem I mentioned, of course, And they have an effect beyond the EU. We've seen with the digital agenda, it has a big effect in Silicon Valley, and that's what people call the Brussels effect. So we have to acknowledge that the EU regulatory power is a very global and powerful power, and very important for our work. All those regulations, the Green Deal, the biodiversity, the circular economy, the digital agenda, are all underpinned by a research and innovation component. And this research and innovation component is implemented through our program, the European Union Program for Research and Innovation, which is called Horizon Europe, which you're all invited to apply for and to join. And it's really our science diplomacy tool also to work with the US. And I have good news on that regard, because it's called a European framework program, but it's actually very international. It's open to any participant in the world, and especially to US participants. And here you have a big role to play as European diaspora in North America, because probably many of you are aware of how this works, and you're really encouraged to bring your US peers to join this program. We have made it very easy for the US researchers to join. In the past, they had to sign grant agreement under Belgian law with a lot of liability, etc. This is over. It's very simple now. The US partners just need to agree with one of the partners of the project and become an associated partner status. So this is the magic word to get our US friends to join this program. The associated partner status in Horizon Europe allows for a flexible and easy way for US researchers to join our program. And the good news is that we just had in October a huge meeting with Department of States, the OSTP, and many of the other US agencies, NSF, NIH, NIST, you name it, to agree on the future of our cooperation. And those conclusions are public, and we've agreed that it's of utmost importance that the US and the EU increase their cooperation, their bilateral cooperation. And the way we are going to do that is through Horizon Europe. So if I have only one message for today, in this context of science diplomacy, in the global context I just mentioned, which is very tense and very real, please do reach out to your US peers and invite them to be part of Horizon Europe projects. You have one duty, is to bring America to Europe. Thank you very much.